Port Canaveral. Now for this particular cruise, my boarding time was actually at 11 a.m. I actually got there around 9:30 a.m. and check out this great parking spot I got. Right across from the ship. Oh yeah, almost forgot, it's your boy Mrbucketlist. Now just like my cruise last time, you definitely want to make sure you get there early, not only to get a good parking spot, but because this cruise terminal does get pretty crowded. With that said, I was on the ship in about 30 minutes, so it didn't take too long at all to get on the ship. And here we go. Now most people that cruise a lot knows that when everybody gets on the ship, the first thing they do is they go to the buffets and the pool deck. Do not do this. In my case, what I did was I went to one of my favorite restaurants, which happens to be a 24-hour restaurant, and was able to get a nice meal in a nice relaxing environment. Check it out. After my meal, I went to a less crowded area of the ship and got some really nice views in. And then eventually I did head to the pool deck for the sail away party. And then we were off. Now being that this was another solo cruise, of course I had to go and check out my studio room in the solo suite. And what do you know, my room had the same exact layout as the Norwegian Epic, my previous solo cruise, which was actually perfect for me. Now after putting all my stuff away and just kind of getting familiar with the room once again, it was now time to check out the actual solo studio lounge area. Now the first thing I noticed is walking into this lounge area is it was a little bit smaller than the last ship I was on, but the difference is, this ship is smaller in general, so that made sense. But the main thing I was curious about is what was going to be the age group of the solos that I was actually going to be around. Well, yes, just like last time, there was a lot of older people that were traveling solo. And also, just like last time, we had our own cruise director, and this guy's name was Lester. But hold up, before you just instantly write this cruise off saying, oh, it's a bunch of old people, believe me, there were a lot of young people on the ship as well. And they were traveling solos or traveling in groups. So, honestly, it wasn't a big issue for me. I love being around both different crowds. So after meeting the solos group in Leicester, I decided to go ahead and have dinner. And the meal was amazing. After dinner, I decided to go to the Breakaway theater to see the opening show. Now this one was actually really cool because it was like little snippets of each and every show that they had on board. They give them maybe about 5 to 10 minutes to kind of show what they had and just to kind of get you prepared for the cruise. And this what made me really, really hype. And not to mention that tomorrow we would be at Great Stirrup Cay. Actually, who am I kidding? So I literally have been on 3 different cruises and Great Stirrup Cay has been on each and every cruise and we have missed it each and every time, including this cruise. And because of that, I was already prepared to miss this particular port. This is literally the only port that I did not book a shore excursion for. Due to it being the same MO every time, the waves are too rough for us to dock, we can't get off the ship. So what I ended up doing was going and have a nice good breakfast and then having my pre-planned get to know the ship day. Now the good thing about being a solo cruiser is each and every day you're always in charge of what you do. So for me, whether it's a sea day or officially or unofficially, I like to go ahead and take a tour of the ship and get to know each and every one of the areas and kind of pre-plan what I want to do the next day when I do have a sea day. Or just kind of what I want to do in general while I'm on the ship. And the good thing about being on a mega ship is they always have plenty of things to do, so you definitely want to take your time to get to know the ship. And that's exactly what I did. I mean, even take a look at this right here. I even stepped inside the gym and even stepped on a treadmill. Now, I didn't work out, of course, but I mean, it's the effort that counts. Now, if you're one of those solo crews that just want to go on a cruise to kind of get away from people, but you still want to actually be like on a vacation, I found the perfect place for you, and it's called the Waterfront. This place was so beautiful because you got the same views of the actual, like the same views from the pool deck, but on like a boardwalk type area, which it had different areas for you to rest and read books and sleep. It was just so nice. And it honestly became one of my favorite parts of the ship. Now, as far as my getting to know the cruise ship, day also extended into the night as well, because I want to see how the different areas were at night. Now, around this time, I did go ahead and check out the different clubs and karaoke venues and bars and things of that nature, and I also did start to meet a lot of people as well. But now that I got all this touring and stuff out the way, it was time to have some real fun. So you remember all those things that I checked out when I was doing my Get to Know the Ship Day? Well, I went back and tried them all out, and everyone was great. And not to mention, the weather outside was beautiful. Now, this ropes course here was no joke, but it was so much fun, and the views were just amazing.
Get over here right now. And look at this, y'all. Wow. Oh my goodness. So you all, I am standing on the edge of a ship, and wow.
And at the very end of the ropes course, they also have a zip line. So it was my first time zip lining, period, and my first time zip lining on a cruise ship. So pretty cool. But I have to tell you all, one of my favorite places on the ship actually had to be the spa. One, because I met so many people and I made so many great conversations in there. But two, just the atmosphere was so relaxing, it made you want to talk and get to know people and just hang out and just, oh, it was so great. Now, speaking of meeting people, I do have a funny story about being in the spa. So there was this one time period when I was sitting in the hot tub with this Asian lady, and we were sitting there just talking about just general things about cruises. And so while we were talking, she kept making this funny face. So I finally asked her, I'm like, hey, are you okay? And she was like, no, my back is just really sore. And so she was like, do you mind giving me a massage? And so I was like, oh, here we go. And so I did it just out of being a kind person. Like I said, I don't go on cruises to meet people. But I was helping her out. And then a few minutes later, this guy comes out of nowhere and sits in the tub with us. And he was like, hey, do you want one next? And so long story short, she basically, that's her husband. And they were swingers, and I guess they were looking for somebody to swing with. Now, I'm not the type of person that does that type of thing, so I rejected the offer. But it was just kind of funny, but that's the type of craziness that happens on cruise ships, and just that's the type of nonsense that was going on inside that spa. So like I said, you meet a lot of different people, and a lot of weird things were happening in there, but it made the cruise more interesting. So if you want to meet people, get the spa pass. So after spending a good amount of time in the spa and then checking out the different shows that they had inside the atrium and on the pool deck, and then of course going to the different shows they had in the theater as well, and having a good dinner, it was time to get ready for our actual real first port, which is going to be Jamaica. Now after we had our little meeting in the theater, we finally stepped foot in Jamaica. Now once again, the weather was beautiful. And after we arrived to our tour buses, we got split into little groups. The groups were about between 18 to 20 people. And it was actually pretty cool because this is kind of like our little cruising family for the day. We passed around different items. We did some singing.
About a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be.
We saw some different views. And we all just got to know each other. Now, being that I'm a huge thrill seeker, coming here and doing the Jamaica bobsled was huge for me. and also getting to see this place called Mystic Mountain. Now again, as a solo cruiser, doing an excursion is one of the easiest way to meet people because you literally are forced to be with people for the duration of the excursion. Now heading onto the swing to actually get to Mystic Mountain itself, I actually met another solo cruiser and she was actually really cool. The way we got to know each other was pretty simple. She said something about skydiving, so I told her I had been skydiving as well, and then we just started talking about just different things that we did in general. And ironically, we started talking about all our friends that are married with kids, or just our friends that can't really explore and go on vacations because they don't have the money or whatever the case may be. What I complained about in my last video. And so here's some of that conversation right here.
Yep.
A lot of them have kids because they're like, I gotta start a family.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I've got 3 vacations planned this year.
I'm the same way. Like I would.
She's pretty cool. Now, after meeting my other millennial solo traveler on this cruise, because like I said earlier, there are young people on this cruise that go solo, I decided to go ahead and try out the Jamaica bobsled, and oh my goodness. It was great.
Oh my goodness! Whoa! Whoa!
And not to mention, just some of the views that they have at Mystic Mountain over Jamaica were just amazing. This was also a good time just to explore the area as well, so that's what I did. Now, after meeting back up with my solo buddy, we headed back down the mountain to go to our next stop, which is going to be Dunn's Rivers Falls. Now, this portion was actually pretty cool. On the short bus ride to get there, we actually met some other young millennials. It was about a group of maybe 6 of us, and we all just became friends and started to hang out. So this entire excursion just literally changed because of a simple bus ride. And wow, Dunn's Rivers Falls was also just beautiful. If you're one of those social media nuts that just love to get those Instagram and Facebook worthy pictures, this is the place to do it. But for me, I was honestly just there to have a good time. Now, one thing I kind of do feel bad about was on our bus ride back, all of us millennials without kids and having a good amount of money were just sitting around talking and just celebrating living life without having kids and having money and things like that, when the other people are just on the bus listening to us. So I feel really bad for the people that are in those positions. I promise you all, I don't mean any harm about this, but it is a really good feeling just to not have those holdups at this age in life. And this is what the video is for. Now, after having an amazing day in Jamaica, it was time to head back, take a shower, get some drinks, get changed, have a good meal, and see some shows. Burn the floor. Now, it was actually pretty cool because the solos had their own reserved section for all the shows, and then of course some of the people I met joined me as well. So I mean, it was just a really good time to go and see the shows again. Plus, this show was awesome. Georgetown, Grand Cayman. Now, just like Great Stirrup Cay, this particular port is also a tender port. But unlike that one, we did not miss it. Now, being that I had such a great time in Jamaica, I was pretty worried about this one because this particular port, I decided to do my excursion through a third party. But the honest truth is, just like I used a vendor to get this particular excursion, so does Norwegian. They just literally use vendors in the different countries and they put their name on it. So it honestly was no different, and it was still an amazing time. And just like my last excursion, the easiest way to meet people is literally on the bus ride to get to your destination. Now, this excursion was actually pretty cool. It included 3 different things: snorkeling, swimming with stingrays, and swimming with starfish. Now, that's the entire reason why I did it through a third party, because Norwegian did not have this particular 3 excursion adventure on their little list. So I had to do it through a third party if I wanted to do all 3 of them. And I'm glad I did it. It was amazing. And not to mention, some of the people that I met on the excursion were literally on the same cruise ship I was on as well. So honestly, it was all good. And again, just look at this weather, look at this water, it was just beautiful. I had so much fun. And after heading back to the ship, this day was going to be a little bit different. Today I did one of the premium dining dinner experiences. The food, it was okay. But 3 things made this experience great. The show, the music, and the people that I shared a table with. Now, being that I was a solo cruiser, when I first walked in there, the guy asked me, he said, "Hey, do you want to sit with a random table and make some new friends?" I said, "Of course." And of course, they allowed me to sit with them. And I actually sat with, it was like 2 different couples, 1 solo lady and 1 solo man. And so it was just a bunch of different random people, random families together, and we all enjoyed it and talked and laughed and just had a really good time. And like I said, the show was great. Mexico! Now for this particular excursion, since it was 8 hours long, I decided to go ahead and get breakfast delivered to my stateroom early in the morning. And then I was off for another adventure. This was my first time to Mexico and to this actual port, and this place was packed. I was so happy that I decided to go through the cruise ship and not through a third party, because I did not want to take a chance of missing this ship getting back. And as far as the group size, this one was a little bit larger. I believe this particular group maybe had about 30 to 40 people in the group, but still it wasn't that crowded. And just like in the other 2 places, the water was beautiful. After we finished playing Follow the Leader to our bus and getting to know our bus tour guide,
the lava coming out from the
and receiving our food and drinks, we made our first stop to the bathrooms and also the wine tasting as well. And this portion was so cool. This guy had me try so many different types of alcohol and things with bugs in them and scorpions. It was a really cool experience to try all this different just liquor, even though I'm not a huge drinker, just to say I did. So I mean, it was really, really nice, really friendly, and I mean, just really excited to help me out. Now, after getting a good buzz, it was finally time to head to our main stop, which was the Mayan ruins. Now, I can tell you right now, at least for me, this is where it really benefited to being a solo. If I was with one of my various exes from the past doing these Mayan ruins, I can see them complaining the entire time because, man, it was hot. But it was still a good time. But in all seriousness, there were so many different Mayan ruins to see and just so many different beautiful views, a beautiful beach. It was just amazing. And even while I was doing some recording for this video and just kind of talking to the camera, one of the Brazilian ladies I met from the spa was actually out there as well, and she caught me off guard. Take a listen.
As well. I mean, hey.
Oh, hey. So yeah, we ended up walking around just kind of talking and stuff, and she ended up getting some really good pictures of me as well. Now, after heading back to the ship after being the highest I've ever been in my life, of course it was time to sit down for dinner and check out some more shows. Now the show for tonight was actually a show called Six, and I kept hearing good things about it, and it was really, really good. But this wasn't the highlight of the reason why I remember this show. I'm gonna call her Miss Lady. Now she was actually a part of the Solos program as well, and she constantly was telling me how attractive I was and things of that nature. So it was just really kind of interesting to say the least. Now after that was all said and done, I really wanted to go ahead and cool out after being in the Mayan sun, so I headed to the ice bar. This place was also really, really fun. Now ironically, this was actually the coldest I had ever been in my life, but it was still a really good time. Day 7 and the last day before the end of the cruise. Now unlike most people, for me, I like to reminisce this last day and honestly get up as early as I can, just soak in the sunrise and just soak in the ship. Just one last go around. But I won't lie to you, it definitely was a struggle being up that early. I even tried the buffet breakfast for the first time and it wasn't bad and the view was great. Now for day 7, it's honestly not much more to say. I did my usual. I went to the spa, I talked to some people here and there, I talked to some people at the bar, I went to a couple shows here and there. It is what it is. It was a good day, but it was a somber day because I knew a day later I would be back on the road, going back to normal life. But this was the particular day where they had the globe party, which was kind of like our farewell party, and then they also had a farewell show as well. So those are both really, really good. But like I said, it just kind of sucked because this was all coming to an end. The last day of the cruise. Well, I'll tell you all right now, I actually don't have much footage of this particular portion of the cruise because I actually lost my GoPro during this time period. Thankfully, because I work in insurance and actually have really, really good insurance, I got it replaced with no problems, and I backed up each of my footage each and every day besides this particular day because I had to get off the ship. But all I can say was, wow, this cruise was amazing. As a solo cruiser, I had a plan, I went forward with that plan, and I did every single thing I wanted to do, no questions asked. So if you're watching this video and you're thinking to yourself, I want to go on a solo cruise, but I'm not sure if I'm going to have a good time, let this be living proof that you can and you will have a great time if you put your mind to it. And with that said, for me, this was the perfect cruise. Yes,